The moment Daniel Harper's phone buzzed in his hand, his world tilted in a way he never saw coming, because grief had trained him to expect pain, not surprise, and certainly not hope wrapped in a mistake. He was standing in the dim kitchen of his small rented house, the sink full of unwashed dishes, his son's backpack slumped against the wall like a tired animal, when he saw the notification from a dating app he barely remembered downloading on a lonely night. It told him that someone had matched with him, and beneath it was a message preview that made his chest tighten and his breath stall, because the name attached to it belonged to the sister of the woman who once broke his heart and then disappeared from his life forever. Before the story pulls you deeper into Daniel's life, take a second to like this video, share it, and subscribe to the channel if you believe in kindness and second chances, and let us know in the comments where you are watching from, because stories like this travel further when hearts move them forward. Daniel had never planned to be a single father at 36. Life had unraveled slowly and then all at once, like a thread pulled from a sweater until there was nothing left but loose ends. His wife, Emily, had been vibrant and restless, full of laughter and big dreams, until motherhood and responsibility weighed on her in ways Daniel did not understand until it was too late. Their marriage ended quietly, painfully, with empty rooms and unanswered questions, and not long after, a car accident took Emily's life, leaving Daniel with a 5-year-old son named Noah and a grief that sat heavy in his bones. The world expected him to move on, to be strong, but most days he simply survived, packing lunches, tying shoelaces, and pretending he did not feel invisible. Loneliness crept in during the quiet hours after Noah fell asleep, when the house echoed with memories and the future felt like a long hallway with no doors. On one of those nights, Daniel downloaded a dating app, not out of hope but out of exhaustion, scrolling through faces that blurred together, swiping without thought until he accidentally liked a profile that made his heart stop. The profile belonged to Sarah Mitchell, Emily's younger sister, a woman Daniel had not seen in nearly 7 years, a woman who had once looked at him with disappointment during family dinners and then vanished along with the rest of Emily's family after the funeral. He tried to undo it, tried to convince himself it was nothing, but the app had already done its damage. When the message arrived, it felt like the past knocking on his door without warning. Sarah's words were simple, unfinished, heavy with implication, and Daniel stared at them until his eyes burned. He felt shame rise in his throat, fear tighten his chest, and beneath it all, a strange flicker of curiosity he hated himself for feeling. Sarah Mitchell was not the same girl she had been years ago. Life had reshaped her in quiet, unforgiving ways. After losing her sister, she had carried guilt like a second skin, always wondering if she could have done more, said more, loved harder. She moved cities, changed jobs, and learned how to live with absence. Joining a dating site was an act of defiance against loneliness, not a search for drama, and seeing Daniel's profile appear on her screen felt unreal, like two timelines colliding when they were never meant to meet again. Daniel spent hours staring at his phone, replaying memories he thought he had buried. He remembered Sarah's laughter at family barbecues, her sharp honesty, the way she had adored Noah as a baby before everything fell apart. He remembered the night of Emily's funeral, Sarah standing alone under a streetlight, her face hollow with grief, and how he had wanted to say something meaningful but could not find the words. Now, years later, a single accidental tap had reopened a door he never planned to touch again. The days that followed were heavy with tension. Daniel went through his routine like a man underwater, taking Noah to school, working his job at a small logistics company, smiling when required, while his mind spun with questions. Was this a cruel coincidence or a fragile opportunity? Could two people connected by loss ever find something real, or would it only reopen wounds that never healed? Every instinct told him to run, to block the match and pretend it never happened, but something softer, braver, urged him to at least acknowledge it. When Daniel finally responded, he did so with honesty stripped bare, admitting the accident, the discomfort, and the respect he still held for Emily's memory. The exchange that followed was careful and slow, words chosen with precision, emotions kept just beneath the surface. They spoke about Noah, about time, about how life had not turned out the way either of them expected. There were pauses that lasted hours, moments where Daniel almost stopped replying, but each time he returned, pulled by a sense that something unfinished was finding its voice. As weeks passed, their messages grew longer, heavier, filled with shared memories and new confessions. Sarah learned about Daniel's nights of exhaustion, about how Noah sometimes cried for his mother without understanding why she never came back. Daniel learned about Sarah's loneliness, about the way she avoided family gatherings because grief still sat at the table. Slowly, without either of them naming it, a fragile bridge formed between two people who had once stood on opposite sides of the same loss. The first time they met in person, it was in a quiet park where children played and leaves whispered overhead. Daniel watched Noah run ahead, his laughter cutting through the tension, and felt his chest tighten when he saw Sarah smile at him with warmth instead of judgment. There was no dramatic moment, no sweeping gesture, just two adults sitting on a bench, talking softly while the past hovered around them like a ghost that had finally grown tired of haunting. Challenges did not disappear because connection rarely erases pain. Daniel wrestled with guilt, questioning whether moving forward meant betraying the love he once had. Sarah battled fear, worried that loving Daniel would always place her in her sister's shadow. They took steps forward and back, sometimes pulling away, sometimes leaning in, learning that healing was not a straight line but a winding path marked by patience. What changed everything was Noah. Children have a way of seeing truth without complication, and Noah saw Sarah not as a replacement or a reminder, but as someone kind who listened to his stories and showed up. One evening, as Daniel watched Sarah help Noah with homework at the kitchen table, the light warm and golden around them, he felt something inside him loosen for the first time in years. It was not forgetting, it was acceptance. Time did what it always does when people allow it. It softened sharp edges, replaced fear with trust, and turned shared pain into shared strength. Daniel and Sarah learned how to talk about Emily without breaking, how to honor her memory while building something new. They learned that love does not erase the past, but it can grow alongside it, respectful and real. Near the end of this journey, if this story has touched your heart even a little, please like the video, share it with someone who believes in healing, and subscribe to the channel, because stories like this exist to remind us that broken beginnings can still lead to beautiful chapters. On a quiet night, long after Noah had fallen asleep, Daniel sat alone and reflected on how one accidental like had changed everything. Life had not become perfect, but it had become fuller, warmer, and more honest. He realized that sometimes fate does not arrive with certainty or permission, but with awkward timing and difficult questions, asking only that you be brave enough to answer. Please comment and share what this story made you feel, because your words matter more than you know. In the end, Daniel understood that love was not about replacing what was lost, but about honoring it by continuing to live, to feel, and to choose connection over fear. And as he looked toward a future he once thought was closed to him, he felt something he had not felt in a very long time, a quiet, steady hope that whispered that second chances are often disguised as mistakes.